Welcome back to Out of Band, a Microsoft Security podcast. I'm Andrew Young, an AI workforce and security lead at Infomotion and a Microsoft MVP in security and M365. Joining me as always are my co-hosts Anthony and Matthew. Anthony, how you going?
Yeah, good, thank you. Bit about myself once again. Anthony Porter, Cloud Security Architect at Canon Business Services, I guess specializing in the Defender and Intune space. And I'll chuck it over to Matt.
And I'm Matthew Clark. I'm a cloud and security architect for Avanade, and no real specialty, but mainly cloud security, I guess, if you had to pick one. Back to you, Andrew.
Thanks, Matt. Today we're joined by Ray Reyes to talk about his journey since Microsoft, his work in the Microsoft security community, and what he has been working on across Microsoft Purview and Defender for XDR. So, Ray, welcome to Out of Band. And now, for those who may not have been following along your journey, please tell us about yourself.
Sure. First of all, thanks for having me. I've been talking about this for quite some time, Anthony. So finally, good to be here. Ray Reyes. I'm a principal security consultant at EngageGrad. Basically, security lead there, sort of doing everything under the sun of cybersecurity, Microsoft security shop. So everything from identity protection to Defender XDR to Purview. Basically, that's kind of my scope of work and specialize in pretty much all those pillars. Obviously, predominantly depending on the demand of customers, I'll probably spend more time on data security or Defender XDR. I could be assigned there for quite some time, but yeah. Either way, there's a lot of different sort of crossover between those security stack, and I think we're seeing that now more than any time of the history of Microsoft security. And you're seeing probably a lot of posts in LinkedIn about integration of Purview to Entra, and now you're seeing a lot more over the last few months with a lot of the integration with Purview to then Defend XDR. So it's a good space to be here, to be working here. But it's interesting as well in terms of skill set and the integration with, like, I guess, being in an enterprise world and kind of working more in enterprise rather than consulting, in terms of, like, you've got different teams working on, like, maybe focus on Entra, but then there's an integration that you have to know Purview now, because there's that sort of better together story, and then vice versa for other security stack. So it's fun to be working and consulting in this space. But yeah, a little bit about me. So been in EngageGo for about 6 months now. Previous to that, I was at Microsoft, so ex-Microsoft. I was the technical lead for data security and Defender XDR for ANZ and Asia Pacific in my last couple of years. I was also the partner champ in my last year. So basically, what that meant is that was the escalation point, technical escalation point for all the partners in ANZ. So it's actually quite interesting to be now in this space, being the technical lead in EngageGrad. So yeah, that's kind of my short story. Probably the last 6 years or so, 7 years.
Yeah, I did see you're actually part of the fast track program for ANZ as well. So
Yeah.
I guess what's
Yeah.
I guess now you're on the partner side of things. So
yeah, and for those that don't know fast track and I would say this is more, fast track is that sort of deployment machine at Microsoft. So we covered pretty much everything underneath Microsoft 365. So if you see anyone that is from fast track or previously from fast track, I always say, like, we're kind of war experience in terms of, like, I think when I was at kind of peak of fast track, we were helping customers, like, 5, 6 customers daily deploying different workloads. So for me, I was just, I specialized in the security space. So a lot of it was driven around demands around Purview and Defend XDR and identity. So I could be, helping maybe, 10, 12 customers at a time, like deploying these products. Hence why, you know, yeah, you kind of dream a lot of these features like on a daily basis, because like that's just in the space that you're driving. So Fast Track is also a subsidiary of engineering. So a lot of the stuff that we do is not just like helping customers deploy, but actually making the products better. So a lot of the feedback that we get from users is actually then we escalate that in terms of like how can we improve a lot of these products, a lot of the feedbacks, a lot of the gaps, and then we discuss that with engineering in terms of how many customers are demanding these features, or you know um, what's the need. And obviously they blink as soon as you get these big large corporations demanding it, right, versus like small organizations. Um, but yeah, like we before then used to work with a lot of big partners like Avanade, working alongside them, and then collaborating with a lot of these big big organizations. So yeah, it's interesting journey going from there to now being in the consultancy partner side, um, and yeah, helping pretty much doing the same thing, like helping customers deploy, like using best practice, and in this space, which is quite interesting.
It,
Um,
it's definitely one of those situations where, obviously, knowing about your journey and following your journey, I'd say closely in terms of where you are and what you're doing now. Obviously, knowing that you've had that hands-on experiences, obviously, you back what you essentially are preaching, which is like really great to see. Like I saw recently, you put together the security maturity journey framework across the 3 maturity tiers, and rather than it just being the generic, like line by line, like standard run of the mill, you should do this, it's actually got some like, really intentful items in it, which is really good to see. It's not, it's not just the same old copy paste. You should have MFA enabled. You've actually got a lot of quality in it. And also the recent additions of the agentic stuff within the E7 Agent 365 space.
yeah, and like one of those things where a lot of my ideas when I was at Microsoft, it's really hard to build, because when you think about like that framework, I probably would have had to get approval for every feature, right? So that would have taken years or never happened at all. So I guess a lot of my ideas from back then, I'm able to do now in Engage Square, where yeah, it's really more based on technology in terms of best practice technology, but also just really from experience, right? Like from and that's really hard to tell in terms of different customers, different industries, like what maturity means for every single one of these customers. But I think from that maturity that you're referring to is really more around technology, like in terms of maximizing where I think they should be at, but also um, just a realistic, like what should they actually turn on, right, to get to one to then two. Um, but and the reason why I call it maturity is simply because based in Australia, we a lot of our customers are referring to that whole maturity essential eight. It's just I thought it was just easier to kind of connect that with customers in Australia, because they go with that whole maturity love like journey. Um,
I
yeah,
guess
just
loaded question from that then. So obviously you've made mention lots of these customers already have the licensing. What do you think is like holding organizations back from actually like deploying these capabilities?
loaded question.
Yeah, look, I thought of that one on the
um,
fly.
oh, look, there's a number of things, right? I think um, in most cases is customers will purchase a product like Defender XDR, Identity, or Purview because they had a need for maybe one aspect of that product. And now, whether it's DLP, or they may have had an incident of like insider threat, and then now they want to turn on insider risk. So in a lot of cases, a lot of customers will turn things on because of events. um, and if you flip that around, it's like actually a lot of these features are mitigating this potential risks, right? And like you got the likes of DLP. Like DLP was engineered because of accidental sharing, right? It's not about stopping people from doing things. It's mitigating that risk of like someone might accidentally share something sensitive, right? Just because of human behavior, right? And insider risk is the same thing, and it gets very. So just to your question, a lot of people want to implement insider risk, but there's a big sort of fence, right? Because of the complexity of the actual like stakeholders. So insider risk is very interesting. Probably the best example to that is when you think about it from an IT perspective and technical perspective, it's actually really easy to implement. Right? And Purview is not technical, right? And if I can write a book on it, it's definitely not technical. Um, but the whole change management piece is the most complex part, right? So when you think about insider risk, is it's not a security decision in terms of which indicators or which risks they think should be implemented and for people to be triaged or alerted, right? Like the alerts, and this is quite probably up for discussion, but my personal take when it comes to alerts with DLP or insider risk, it should go to the data owner or manager, right? And not cybersecurity, right? Because you can imagine a lot of these behaviors, like cybersecurity should not make the decision whether they did the wrong thing, right? It should be HR, right? And this is where it gets complex. When you enable insider risk, is like because it's intentionally for risky behaviors. You need to get HR involved. You need to get the right stakeholders involved. You need to get cybersecurity involved, and then you need to play that back in terms of how does it operationally look like. So when you present that to customers, they're like, I just don't want to do it. It's too complex.
Too hard.
It's too hard. But people need it, right? Like, it's
I think
too
especially
many.
with agents and stuff becoming more and more prevalent, data security is the big sleeper part of cybersecurity that people aren't really paying enough attention to, especially with AI coming in. It's like AI's hype, but data security is not cool, but it's the thing that glues it all together.
100%. And I think a lot of the conversation now, even with Microsoft customers, like you kind of have to mention an AI element to that for them to even blink an eye, or like an eyelid, right? To have a conversation. Because data security is just old. They haven't done anything with it, so nothing's broken. So why should they do anything now?
Why
You
fix?
mentioned the word AI because it's trending. Just like with anything, yeah, I speak to you.
You can't
There's
see the leak.
features.
It didn't happen, right?
Yeah, no logs, no crime.
Yeah, Joe never downloaded 100 gigs, right?
Yeah, never happened.
Yeah,
Joe
we
said he didn't.
We use SharePoint. It's fine.
Yeah, our SharePoint environment is locked down. It's all good.
Yeah. We have MFA, so we're all
We have MFA. Classic.
We're ML1 for Essential 8, so we're pretty much good to go in any sort of fashion. I guess
we did that 10 years ago.
Yeah. Well, thank God. I mean, probably one of the most recent bits of news that came through is the Microsoft saying that they're retiring SMS and phone from authentication methods, and now everybody's running around going, "Oh, you've had sufficient time." Like,
It was like 5 years ago, right?
Yeah. I like the fact that Microsoft's gone, "Hey, we're just going to remove it from our stack if you need it." What is it? The security store. You can now go to like a provider or a telco and just send SMSs through a telco at a cost, like per message and stuff. But I'm seeing a lot of these like upcoming conversations of people being like, "Oh, but we have process," and it's like, well, what's I think the one that I recently saw that I was like, oh, okay, that'd be interesting is the SSPR. Everybody with the two methods of SSPR, and they had the mobile application, and nobody wants security questions, and now they're depreciating a majority of the others, unless you're using like a password manager with like a software token. You really don't have another method. I think I saw in the documentation it's Microsoft may come out with a additional method for passkey to be able to be used in SSPR, but they've kind of left people with we're removing this and we'll figure it out later. So not a lot of it'd be interesting to see. Did you guys see any of that? I guess in the woodworks.
I thought it was coming, didn't I?
I only saw the infographic that you posted like 20 minutes ago.
Yes.
We were talking about it yesterday. We're like, oh, this is going to be interesting because this is kind of like changing, like, it'll change like service desk and help desk, right? SSPR is probably what's saving a lot of headaches in that space, and obviously in the initiatives behind security, they're just like, 5 months, or sorry, 6 months, and SMS and phone are gone, and SSPR will figure it out later, unless you have hardware tokens or and
We're going to get to a point where there's so many temporary access passwords being issued, and that'll just become the process.
Yeah, sorry, help desk. Once again, it's look, it's no, obviously not to drill into it. It's still early news, still early days. Literally, it came out probably not even 24 hours ago. But no, it's something I noticed, and I was like, oh, this is another one of those situations where things are moving quick, and for good reason.
It's probably not even quick, right? Because I think it's been the boiler for a while. I think that's the thing about a lot of these changes is it should have happened a while back. So I think there's been a lot of changes within Microsoft as well, and probably some of the reasons why a lot of these new features hasn't really come into play yet, which probably was scheduled like about a year ago. So there's that balance of like, should have been done.
Yeah.
But to your point about help desk, it's quite interesting about SSPR, right? Like I think I remember when I was the identity SME at one point at Microsoft, is that I think it's something's like pretty high. I think it removed about 60-80% of help desk's like daily tasks. But you can imagine it probably went, oh, we don't need help desk at that point, so they're probably bringing back help desk again.
I'm sure there's an agent for it or something, right?
I'm sure.
we'll make a ship on. And there you go, security store. There's an agent for you. Look, obviously, I think I just wanted to, I guess, bring back your mention of like each of these, I guess, subject matter experts, whether it be data security or the Defender XDR or Entra. To your point, there's a lot of need to cross understand all of these. Like I recently figured I would just wing the SC300 exam, and I was like, oh, it'll just be Entra. And no, it's got Defender for Cloud Apps in it. And I was like, oh, I understand why. And that's really, I liked that it included it. But I was like, oh, normally those who I know are sitting SC300 are because they're help desk and they want to show that they've got, the full capability of creating dynamic security groups and so on and so forth. And then to throw in the Defender for Cloud Apps for, conditional access and the access policies, I was like, oh, so what you're saying is that everybody, once again, that whole everybody needs to know security, but specifically like within the security, like the Defender stack. And also you just made mention that, the data custodians should be the alert for any sort of DLP, insider risk, etc. It's really starting to look like that security portal isn't necessarily just for the security teams anymore, and it's likely going to become a everybody use.
Yeah, and I think I've always said to people like don't focus on one. Like I guess don't leave yourself sort of isolated by focusing on one product, right? In terms of one from a career perspective, I think things change so much. Um, even just with Purview alone, there will be like records management specialists that only look after records management and data lifecycle management. Similar to Defend XDR, there could be like MDE specialists or MDI specialists, even at Microsoft, right? They know a little bit about other products, but that's where they specialize in. I think that's a bit of a risk in terms of just from a career perspective. But in terms of like just knowing like how the products are evolving now with the integration, it's important to, I think, yeah, specialize in one thing, but then know how things sort of integrate. Um, yeah, the deployment is and the teams like enterprise is going to be interesting because like even just deploying one product that might be like I need an intro person to enable this part, and then I need a DLP person to enable this part. Um, you know, like a 15-minute technical enablement might take 4 weeks because you got these different sort of hops to do, change requests, get that person to enable something in intro, and then it's interesting.
So I guess not to hog the airtime, I'll pass it over. But change requests, change management. It's one of those ITIL fundamentals, but it's one of those almost back burner discussions. You made mention. These features are really easy to enable, but then like we don't go and I guess introduce the platform. I guess Intune has now started to have a bit more of a ITIL in regards to its approval processes. Would you see that being beneficial in the other platforms such as Defender or even Purview, or would you see that as more of a like a blocker, making that 15 minutes into like a 4 week?
I think it depends on the product, right? I think you compare Defend XDR to Purview, like a lot of the enablement in Defend XDR, you can do the backend without a huge user like a business impact. Like when I say business impact in terms of like just the day-to-day like tasks where like you with Purview is like you can get policy tips and you don't know what it is, and you can get share something, it gets blocked, you don't know what it is. Choosing a label, like what does this mean for different documents or categorizing this, like, so that's the day-to-day sort of impact, like enabling Purview, right? Whereas Defend XDR, you can just enable stuff in the backend and you know no one's ever going to know you enabled it, right? Like it's
That's
that's your traditional security product where everything happens in the backend. um, so that doesn't really need much of a change as such. I mean, there's obviously an element to change, which is training. You got to train the SOC team. That's changing as well, like in terms of like that whole integration, automation around, you um, you know, Sentinel and Defend for Cloud, and how you automate stuff and integrating that with ServiceNow. And there's a whole lot of different change elements of it, but it's really more training the SOC team. Whereas Purview is more around the business, like how do you train users on a daily basis. Um, and with Purview, things change as well, right? Like you go into like a customer's portal, they created the labels like maybe 6 years ago, right? And they haven't changed it. Like it's nuts. Like there's so many elements to that. There's and even for me that play around this space, like I could do a customer demo and then create a label, and I'm like, you swear in this podcast?
Unfortunately, yeah.
uh,
Wouldn't be the
so
first time.
No.
so you can open up like creating a sensitivity label, like, and you've maybe did it last time, maybe 3 days ago, right? And then you open it and you go, what's this new feature? And like you're caught off guard because there's so many changes that's happening, like on these spaces. But yeah, I think just going back to the label that's been there for quite some time, there's that change element that they need to revisit and make changes like often, um, based on trends, based on AI as an example. Um, the whole DLP copilot, that change, it's been changing like since it first came out. It's crazy.
Yeah, and I think to, I guess, your point, a lot of the features in Purview have kind of not been touched, but then there's some really like, I think the DSPM is one of the like best, well thought out features in Purview because they've really, I guess, lack of a better, like spoon fed. This is the requirement. This is the outcome. This is the impact. Do you want to do that? Yes. Click done. Like, it's in simulation mode already. Go and review this in 48 hours, please. Like, it's really like it's a really well thought out feature. It'd be good to see, I guess, that in other areas. But I think to your comment of like you can change things in Defender and have not a lot of impact. You definitely don't be enabling, you know,
Oh yeah,
unsanctioned
for sure.
applications get blocked automatically in Defender for endpoint. Um,
100%.
you know, but even just I think the blanket statement of it would be nice to see the tool almost adopt a, if you enable this, it will impact users. Are you sure? Like a blanket statement on features that are known to be impactful. A simple, do you acknowledge that somebody's gonna cry in this enablement at some stage or another? Yes. Yeah, once again, I completely agree with you. It's just something that I often, not often, that's kind of weird. I often think about where I go, oh, it would be nice to like have a bit more hand holding in some of these where it's a bit Wild West. I feel in some of these, in these tick boxes, like who knows what will happen if you go and click every single tick box in advanced features, like in Defender. I mean, somebody probably does because they went, this will be great, and then regretted it later. But you know, what's the impact for enabling something like that? Yeah. Call it product feedback, but
Yeah, yeah, for sure.
uh,
And when I say less impact, I mean I'm talking about someone that actually knows what they're enabling, right? So um, the person that needs to enable knows what this feature is about. Uh, so yes, if they don't know, they can just enable it, and that would probably kill a business, right? So
look, security doesn't detriment businesses, I'd hope. It just make things, you know, a couple more prompts to, you know, MFA through.
Yeah, this is a non-user impacting change.
Yeah. Uh,
Suddenly business down.
yeah.
so there's no change request.
Oh, that's a different portal. That's in our service desk. That's not my job. No, it's look, I'll have one more question and I'll chuck it to the others. You made
Yeah.
mention to a, you know, a fresh or a purview that's been you know, uninhabited, untouched. But you know, obviously somebody at some stage figured they'd go and give some labels a go and sent it to a test. I guess for those that also haven't read your books, if you were to walk into an environment right now, it's got E5, Purview's in its brown state, would call it. Where would you start?
That's a brown state.
Been touched.
Been touched. It's not green
Been
fields,
been
it's
touched.
brown
Yeah.
fields. It's like, the label that's been deployed to like a security group of people, and you can see that it's been enabled and applied to some files in a SharePoint site that you don't know exists anymore.
Um, it's a very common question, which probably you'll probably get a number of different answers from different practitioners. And I think it goes back to the customer's need, right? And I think depending on the customer, depending on which industry they play in, like you can ask the simple questions around, you know, are you like, do you have a regulatory, do you need to comply to, right? You know, it's more the question of like that's one question. Like if they get audited tomorrow, they fail that audit. Right. So that could be leaning on to let's make sure we comply and enable some of these features that make you compliant. The other aspect is turning on some analytics within DLP and inside risk. Generally, they will give you, and if you don't know what they are, essentially they're just analytics. So what the analytics does is basically extract a lot of these patterns within audit log, and then whether it's this risky behavior, whether it's like people sharing sensitive information from SharePoint, downloading, the recommendation will come in a form of results, and it will give you pretty high level of percentage of like the X number of people in your business downloading, sharing stuff. Um, Now you can go into that space of like, I like to say, stop the bleeding, right? Like if you see like a high number of like 60, 70% sharing sensitive information, stop that bleeding like on day one. Like put one potentially a DLP in simulation or insider risk simulation. In most cases, a lot of these people sharing stuff isn't so much about doing things intentional, right? A lot of it is like just non-educate, no, non-education. There's not hell of a lot of change management that happened before. They're just doing the job, right? So that's kind of where they potentially build that sort of change management piece and education. And one of the reasons why I said the alerts and incidents or alerts should go to data owners or managers is you have the opportunity to educate these people, right? Obviously, there's a lot of intelligence that you can put in later on in terms of like using adaptive protection, in insider risks, where you can start building user scoring, where they get an alert the first time, they get educated the second time, the third time that they do it, you can basically enable that, integrate that with conditional access and block their account. Because the third time, well, that's three strikes, right? Again, what does that mean from a operational perspective? Maybe you get HR to speak to them, right? But there's also a small number of people that might do things intentionally, right? And that's where, again, using the results of the analytics to go, okay, potentially, you know, oh, you can probably do a graph and extract that and go, well, these are number of people percentage wise leaving the company, and you get all these increase of like people sharing and downloading stuff when people are about to leave, right? And then you map that to the actual the actual technology, right? So I think build that use case first. I think that's really important, and this is really where you kind of maximize important business needs and then map that to the technology. And as you can imagine, like Purview is massive, right? It's you got your data security, you got your like data lifecycle management, governance, and then you got your AI security. Like which one do you tackle first, right? And in a lot of cases, a lot of people, because of this Copilot AI, they're jumping into this DSPM, and they haven't done this piece first, right? It's nuts, and I'm sure you guys have seen that a lot with being in consultants, working with customers, like because they want Copilot. Like, tell me what I need to do in Purview to be Copilot ready, but you got to do this part first to kind of enrich the other parts, right? But yeah, like it's again, talk to the customer, build that sort of use case. It's really how I approach things.
No, that's brilliant. And yeah, absolutely. I think, DSPM, even for like like tenants that don't have labels, like DSPM has the one click, there you go, now you've got labels. Like it's really well thought out, but I think it is kind of tacked on top of the rise of, buzzword AI, to try and get people like well and truly like ready to go quicker than probably necessary. I mean, I can
Can I
keep
give
you.
you my
No,
can I give you my
I'll-
opinion about DSPM?
Go on. Yeah,
Because
please.
I'm not going to get fired anymore from Microsoft. So
Congrats.
um, the, the setup is crazy, right? Like the way they've done the design of the setup is just confusing.
Oh yeah.
Um, you know, it's they've got these go to the setup piece, and then you got these recommended, and you got this required or recommended. There's only one required.
the activate audit logging.
Okay.
So,
Yeah, which is by default is enabled. So
what is it?
Well-
Activate audit, and then it's like now use Intune to push the endpoint DLP like component, and then
so for me, they should separate that, and there's a couple of pieces there that's for me is required, like onboarding devices to Purview or MDE browser extension. I think it's a required, not a recommended. So like I think they've just really defined it really badly, and then you got the recommendations underneath that, which is even more confusing, right? Because it's a mixed bag of like E5 and PAYG, right? So the whole setup is like going, unless you work in this space on a daily basis, you know what to click, and you know what to tell people. Don't go there because PAYG, unless you want to pay PAYG. So I think by design, it's really badly designed. I think they need to separate that whole PAYG and then E5 or E7, whatever's coming, right? But I do like the objectives, which is what you've been mentioning about this is exploitation, and then you go to the objectives, and you get this list of. I like that. I think that's really cool. I think there's more coming into space.
no. As I said, I
Yeah.
think, yeah, to your point, right? Chuck in a communication compliance policy. These are the outcomes. Like this will be your, end state victory. This is what you can provide to the stakeholders that are, asking said questions. But yeah, absolutely. It's, what is it, like just a list of 18 in a row, no, and a single column, unfilterable, that just has like data security for most of them. Isn't that
the Ten Commandments? That's the original 10 Commandments,
yeah.
carved on stone tablets.
You can't even filter those, right? Like,
Yeah, it's been crazy because when it first came out, it was DSPM for AI, and then about a month or two later,
It actually
the
used to
data
be
security.
AI Hub in Purview.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So
so
AI
many
Hub
name changes and
renamed it, and then data security posture management came, and then they realized, oh shit, it's like everyone's going to get confused because the acronym is the same as that, even though they
get
do
confused.
things differently, right?
Yeah.
But data security posture management isn't new as such in terms of from a security perspective, right? It's been out for a long time. I think it's well received in terms of now is in Purview, because it's something that should have been there like ages ago. But yeah, I think it's a very critical workload. They just need to find their way around it.
it's the front end not talking to the back end kind of thing. It's no, and yeah, absolutely. Like I said, but yeah, didn't they call it DSPM Classic at one stage? They just chucked like a classic in there when they were trying to do the merger, wasn't it?
I think it's still there. I think.
Oh, is it? I mean,
Yeah, so new DSPM's in preview. The old one's classic.
that's the one. Yeah.
There's
Yeah.
also security dashboard for AI as well that lives alongside. I think that
Oh,
incorporates the rest of the rest of the security suites.
I guess absolutely asking yet another question. My bad. So you've written books about like a forever moving like target. How does that sit in like your mental state of like, there's the promotion? I mean, I personally, like, I recently did a presentation or a speaking at Agent Camp, which is the agentic, and I was talking about the security, like getting telemetry from Copilot Studio into Defender using the threat hunting capabilities on the AI agents info table, which is now changed name and etc. etc. I'd done that in March. I was like, right, I'm ready. I'm ahead of the game. And then in April, they paywalled it with Agent 365, and they changed where it sat within the Defender portal. It used to sit within Cloud Apps. Now it's got its own security for AI. And so all I had to do was change a couple of slides. You wrote a book. Like yours is hard printed. I just have to go edit. Like, how does that? How do you navigate that?
I think I think for me, I needed to accept that once the book is published, after a month it's going to be old. Right? I think it's because it's that forever moving piece. The reason why it got delayed so often, like when I published it, is because like I was still at Microsoft at the time, and someone will ping me going, "This new feature's coming." Like, wait. I'm like, I just want to publish it, dude. Like, um, so eventually, I think December last year, I published it, but I started writing it probably, um, and I think if we've been connected for, in LinkedIn for a while, like I've been publishing these guides for quite some time, like especially with Defend XDR and Purview. So this is really just a combination of that into more of a storytelling like book. So really the book is really more for, and I think, well, so second edition is coming out. I'm not going to make promises. I said next month. But it is going to be the end of next month. And then again, it's just like from December. So I started writing this book March last year, so 2005. Published it December. Had to go back and back and back and back to make sure that all the features are there. And now it's like nearly 7 months old, 8 months old. Like, so this is like second edition is going to be completely different. So basically, like the first edition is all about the core and understanding how Purview works. Second edition is really all about more around scenario based, right? And a lot of the new features. So I'm not going to take what's in the first edition to second edition. I think just from a reader's perspective, like I just want to make it a bit more interesting in terms of really focus more on practitioners, learning about different industries, how complex it is, how just talking about the complexity about insider risk. So all that's going to be there, and a lot of it's going to be the new features around E7 as well, um, which is exciting. I think for me, it's like just being excited about continuing to write and update it, which is more exciting. Um, but I'm actually equally probably more excited. So just a bit of insight. I love Purview, not as much as I love Defend XCR.
Good man.
Record.
Oh, we cut out. Can you say that again? No, kidding.
So my background has always been like predominantly security, right? So like previously like an old SharePoint architect, like back in early 2000, like really just evolve into, just so happened like got into AD, got into like security, and then really just kind of went from there. And I've always really been more passionate about security than anything. The Purview part, I think, and you've probably seen this a lot with MVPs, like Purview MVPs. A lot of them come from a SharePoint background, um, and just naturally, I think like where data lives, right? And I think natural evolution or natural progression is like they need to learn about classifications and DLP, and it kind of grows into now on Purview MVP, which is awesome because a lot of these MVPs know how to talk about these architects and how it works. But again, what we were talking about earlier, it's like you need to know these other pieces now. It's not just that, right? But what I love about Defender is, you can be very geeky, and I think that's just me naturally. So I love the geekiness. So yeah, in parallel, that book for Defender is coming at the end of the year. But again, it's one of those things that I'm trying to catch what's coming. Um, but yeah, excited about that book as equally as the second one that's coming.
I was going to say, I think the like people resonate with familiarity, like so scenario based, a bit more. Oh, I'm having that issue, or that's something I can relate to. That's something I've had to fight. These are things that I might not actually have to fight yet, but I may need to. I think that's a real, looking forward to it, Matt.
And probably most of you have done a lot of the SC certs, right? Exam.
Done a couple.
You sit down, do the 401 or 200. You're like, yeah, like, I'm not going to use this. Like, you know, and then in
Half of
real
the
life, it's
content.
I mean,
yeah,
I got the piece of paper. I mean,
yeah. And then by the time you finish studying and then do the exam, it's like there's new features, right? And like 401's already old, like for SC 401. And then I can't imagine 200 is like way old, or like probably 3 years now, 4 years now, right? Like,
And
so
last time I read the 400 learning path, I fell asleep. So so dry.
I think
Yeah.
the SE 400 was my how good can I use the MS Learn indexing during the exam. And yeah, we got SC 400. I blitzed 401, but yeah, 400 was how good can I use the MS Learn during exam. I'm not even afraid to say it. And I think to the SC200, I saw that they've recently, in one of the renewals I did, they added all the security copilot stuff in it now. So I'd say that they are moving. I think they're aligning these certs to like job roles. But then it then confuses the absolute out of me where they're retiring something like AZ500 because they're adding AI into it. But then for SC200, they're just chucking AI into it. So whatever. I'll go and get SC.
They remove.
No, nice.
I've lost Santos.
My God,
Nah,
Anto's turned into a battery.
Oh man, look, I'm not. That's fine. I'll keep.
That's all right.
I'll keep
Yeah.
yelling.
I think that's the reason why I've focused on the first edition of Purview in terms of like just teaching like number of roles, like this is what Purview is, and obviously that element of like what's the core and how you implement this. But I think just even that our discussion alone is like a lot of us practitioners often are pretty hands on. I think we're pragmatic in terms of like I want to connect that scenario because I've got that customer. Like for me, is the way I learn. So the way I'm actually writing this book is like this is how I want to learn versus like sitting down on a cert. Like I've really got bad memory, so a lot of these exams are like really memory based. Like I hate taking exams because like yeah, what I learned yesterday, like, and then if I do the exam today, I'll be like, what was that? So um,
Yeah, it's going to take me way too long to charge this battery, so I'm just going to be a blank screen. No, and I guess everybody learns differently. Like I was never a test person, and I completely agree. If it's not something that I remember off the top of my head because I've done it, I'm not going to be able to read it like in a book. And so using the MS Learn, although I do. You know what? I don't necessarily agree that it should sit in exams, but I understand the context of, well, you don't need to remember everything, provided that you have the MS Learn portal to help you. I do think that there is some sort of level of, I don't think getting the same certificates have the same value anymore. But then, in the same sense, I don't really mind, provided that you know what you're doing, and the piece of paper is just that kind of compliment to say you do.
I think working in a partner space, it's more of a business perspective, right? Working with Microsoft, I think that's their way of like just validating and qualifying partners as well as with customers looking for that sort of validation. And I remember when I think even that 5 months in Avanade, like they just couldn't stop talking about certs on a daily basis. Not sure if it's like that now, Matt, but yeah.
It doesn't stop. There's always a cert drive.
Yeah. So, which I totally understand from a business perspective, right? So,
But I mean, the security department's like it's like 88% coverage on the certs they want, and the high priority ones. Like, okay, so there's not that many people that aren't actually rocking certs that are actually in demand.
What would you say are the certs that are in demand then, Matt?
At the minute, they've got CISSP, they've got CSSLP, and then they've got stuff like the Purview one, so SC 401, and some of the other ones there. I haven't looked at it for a little while, but those are the three that stand out to me.
You'll snap them up quick smart, right?
One of them.
Yeah. Yeah, CISP. No.
Yeah.
No. I mean, it's good to see. I completely agree with you, Ray. A lot of the certificates almost feel business driven than like personal interest. I mean, I feel like I'm just getting them now because I see a beta voucher and I yoink a beta voucher and I go on, save a lot of money. And if I get the certification at the end, cool. But I definitely am not one to run and go and get the next one these days. I used to be, but yeah, not so much these days.
You say that, but then I'll post something and you'll be right on it as well. Just that FOMO of certifications.
Absolutely, yeah. You're my biggest you're my biggest issue.
Yeah,
I
mean,
think
there's a
if you're
couple of ways.
starting in this space, like if you're new into security space, I think there's obviously an element. Like I think it's important to do this certs or at least do the MS Learn, go through that whole flow of it and learn a combination of experience as well as that missing piece of theory, right? But I think depending on how long you've been in this space, whether it's 15 years, 20 years, like is a cert going to do you any good versus like just hands-on, go in a demo, like break the shit out of it.
Yeah.
Like for me, that's how I learn, right?
That's like what I said to Abe in 2010.
I think I absolutely resonate with that. It's something that I probably am in the CDX portal with a custom tenant that's got E5 without Defender for Endpoint as like a go-to for any sort of what can I break with Graph today. But it's because the doing is a lot more I guess how I remember things. I guess to your question, to your statement of somebody new coming into the security space and wanting to look at certificates, what would you say is the golden certificate to get into the industry then?
That question to me.
You know what? It's a question to every single one of you. That sounds good because I'm a blank screen right now.
Just depends like which space you want to get into, right? And I think if you were coming into this without influence from the company you're working for, or whether it's a partner or not, and sometimes that industry will influence you to get which certs because they want to get specialization in what space, right? But I think personally, like if obviously it should be a personal choice, whether you want to get into data security or Defender XDR. So I think if you want to play around the Purview space, obviously I think that's a given. And I think that they do link pretty closely to spaces like, whether it's a Defender XDR, S200. Again, that exam just like you won't touch everything in Defender XDR, like probably about 10% of it. So it's not going to teach you everything. You know, like I think the majority of those questions are like, advanced hunting. So unless you're a SOC that plays in this space, advanced hunting is probably going to go away because we're probably going to have agents in about. We'll probably have agents
Probably
now,
have
right?
agents, yeah.
Security Copilot. So do you need advanced hunting versus like Security Copilot when it's got E5 already? So
Yeah, I guess that's
and I would think that the work as much as you can influence what you do and what jobs you pick up, but the job itself will also influence the certs that you pick up. So the work influences you as much as you influence it.
Yeah, I mean, a lot of the audience would probably be students still, or just graduates, right? And they may have done a degree in cybersecurity, for example, which may or may not translate into something that's relevant in the current industry. But we're pointing people to, hey, do the fundamental exams in whichever provider. So it could be ISC2, you got certified in cybersecurity fundamentals, SE 900 if you're going to be Microsoft based. All of the different providers out there have the entry level, and you should be doing them, I guess, in the order of that into then branching out to the area of expertise, be it information security or threat protection, and then kind of progress from there. And yeah, I think for myself, doing the certs is more just, I've actually done the required reading. I haven't just gone in blind, and it complements all the hands-on work, right? So there's going to be stuff that we go through portals and stuff, but hey, there's a feature I've never heard of or seen before. It's written down in the documentation that normally you wouldn't go out your way to read, right? Unless something comes up and you have to do a search for it. But having somewhere in the back of your mind, like you've seen that somewhere, you can kind of go back to it. But again, with the rapid changing, exams and certifications retiring every 6 to 12 months, it's going to be a new challenge in itself. And I think Anto can attest to this one with expert level administration certifications getting retired without any prior notice.
I guess, Ray, for context, I nailed MS 102. I was like, I may as well just go and sit it, go and get the M365 admin expert. And then like a day later, they're like, oh, we're retiring it. I was like, oh, okay. All right, that sounds cool.
But the replacement's only an associate level cert, so people are up in arms about that because it's going to be all AI, and less of administering, M365.
I think like all retired certifications that I've got, like I got them when they were required and when they were acknowledged at a specific level. I'll probably go and get the associate level. But I think the achievement, though it retires, it still stands. As much as I'm gutted, like yet another, because I found out about AZ500 being retiring, which I have, MS102 retiring, which I just got, and then I sat the SC730 beta, which I'm pretty sure everybody passed, and they're not releasing it. So yeah, of the three, somewhat recent exams, two of them are either retiring or not being released.
It's also the AI 102 is getting rolled as well.
Yeah, that's the one. It's I feel sorry for anybody trying to put together learning content for this as a YouTube call it career. I definitely wouldn't.
Hey guys, I'm not sure if you guys can see my chat, but I do need to jump off in probably a couple of minutes.
Yeah, no.
Well, good.
That's probably convenient given my camera died. I guess open the floor to you, mate. Given that we've only got you for a couple more, I guess, is there anything you want to say? Anything you want to promote?
No, I think for me, like I said, I think Anthony and I have been trying to connect for quite some time now. So I'm just really happy that this has been done, and like finally got to meet you guys. And I've seen a couple of videos from you guys, and I think you guys have been doing a great job in this space. Need more of these because it does, like, I think they're important. Like, I think the podcast stuff is important because it brings a different element to education. I think coming from you, like an example from you guys that are been in the industry for quite some time and coming in from different angles, I think people need to pay more attention to these kind of podcasts because I think it brings a different element of education. That in terms of promoting, what can I promote? Coming out next week. Next week, no, it's coming out the end of August. That's kind of the target. Defend XDR still in progress. That should be coming the end of the year. How could you find me? Just on LinkedIn and in Bangkok.
Yeah. Check the
If you ever traveling to Thailand.
Nah.
Yeah, thank you. Thanks
No.
again for inviting me. Had fun. Really enjoyed this chat.
It's been great
Good
to have
having you,
you,
mate.
and glad we finally got you locked in. But
And
yeah, like you said, like we're all the cold face, and we're seeing and we're doing stuff. So yeah, it's great to see you putting your experience to paper and continuing to do that each year now, I guess, with your several editions to come in your separate books. So yeah, thanks again, Ray, for coming along, and I guess we'll wrap the episode as well. So thanks everyone for tuning in, and we'll catch
thanks,
you again
guys.
soon.
Thanks, everybody.
Cool. Thanks, Anthony. Thanks, Matt.
Good to meet you, mate.
Thank you.